Something is brewing in Maranello, and it's not just another upgrade package. After a season hyped as Ferrari's return to glory, the results have been underwhelming, the drivers frustrated, and now the leadership is under fire. Frederic Vasseur, once hailed as the man to restore Ferrari's championship pedigree, is now rumoured to be on thin ice. With both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc voicing concern and the SF25 struggling to live up to its promises, whispers of a dramatic shake-up have begun to circulate. Even more alarming? Reports suggest Ferrari is quietly exploring replacements behind closed doors. Could this be the moment that changes the future of the Scuderia? Let's break down what's going wrong inside Ferrari's camp, why Vasseur is in the hot seat, and what this means for Formula One's most iconic team moving forward. Ferrari entered the 2025 season with enormous expectations. Winter testing had hinted at a car capable of challenging Red Bull and McLaren. The SF25 was meant to be the machine that would finally push the team back into consistent title contention. But fast forward a few races, and reality paints a very different picture. While Ferrari currently sits in second place in the constructors' standings, that number is misleading. The team hasn't secured a single Grand Prix victory. Only one-off results in sprint formats and safety car-influenced podiums have kept them afloat. In qualifying sessions and race pace, they've often looked like the fourth best team. Worse still, the internal mood has soured. While Leclerc has salvaged a few decent results, Hamilton has struggled visibly and vocally. His frustration has boiled over in recent races, calling into question not just the car's development, but also the direction the entire team is heading. It's one thing to miss targets. It's another when your most high-profile driver, arguably the most decorated in history, starts questioning the project publicly. And that's where the pressure on Vasseur began to intensify. Frederic Vasseur was brought in to steady the ship after the turbulent Binotto era, but nearly 2 seasons in, questions are being asked. He inherited a passionate, political and pressure-filled environment, and he's now facing the same intense scrutiny as his predecessor. While his calm demeanour and experience were assets early on, they're now being seen as signs of indecision. Critics within the Italian media have begun questioning his tactical decisions, driver management and technical direction. Ferrari chairman John Elkann is said to be growing impatient, especially with championship hopes slipping away and morale deteriorating at the factory. One particularly explosive rumour even suggested that Ferrari made a quiet approach to Red Bull's Christian Horner about a potential future move, something Horner publicly denied. But the fact the rumour existed at all speaks volumes. Ferrari doesn't float those ideas, and as confidence in leadership is beginning to fade. And in Formula One, perception matters just as much as reality. Right now, Vasseur is fighting to maintain both. From the outside, Ferrari presents a united front, but behind the scenes, cracks are beginning to show. Lewis Hamilton, brought in with much fanfare, was never going to accept mediocrity. He joined Ferrari with the expectation of winning again, not languishing behind McLarens and Astons. After a brutal race in Barcelona, he made it clear the car's behaviour was unpredictable and, at times, undrivable. Sources within the team suggest Hamilton's trust in the technical department has begun to erode. And Charles Leclerc, while less outspoken, is no less concerned. Internally, engineers are said to be divided on development paths. Attempts to add downforce have made the car unbalanced, particularly through the rear suspension. The setup changes that help one driver often hinder the other. It's a classic case of 2 world-class drivers being handed a car that works for neither. This friction is feeding into strategic confusion, pit wall hesitations, and a general sense of urgency, without a clear solution in sight. And when leadership fails to provide answers, fingers naturally begin to point upward, which is exactly what's happening to Vasseur. What looked like a promising platform has become a technical headache. The SF25's issues aren't just about raw pace. They're about consistency, reliability, and adaptability. In clean air, on specific tracks, the car has shown glimpses of potential. But across different circuits, tyre compounds, and weather conditions, its performance window is narrow. Attempts to expand that window have backfired. Ferrari's engineers have been forced to balance stiffness with drivability, and every gain in downforce has come at the cost of rear stability. This makes the car erratic in high-speed corners and unpredictable over long stints. And while Vasseur has tried to publicly defend the team, insiders claim the technical staff are quietly frustrated by the lack of progress. Worse, other teams are improving. McLaren has taken a leap forward. Mercedes is finding form. Red Bull remains steady. Ferrari, on the other hand, is in a constant state of troubleshooting. And that means even solid weekends feel like missed opportunities. In a championship defined by small margins, the SF25 simply isn't giving its drivers the tools they need to compete, no matter how hard they try to extract performance from it. Barcelona was a breaking point. Hamilton described the race weekend as one of the worst he's experienced in terms of balance and feel. In post-race debriefs, he appeared dejected and borderline disillusioned. This wasn't a calculated media jab. It was the tone of a driver reaching his limit, and it was especially jarring given how composed Hamilton has been since joining Ferrari. His teammate finished on the podium. He was overtaken by slower cars, even with mechanical issues. That kind of gap is unacceptable for a driver of his calibre. Behind closed doors, Ferrari knows that keeping Hamilton motivated is crucial. He wasn't signed just for his legacy. He was brought in to help steer the team into the new regulation era starting in 2026. If he loses faith now, that long-term vision collapses. And there's a very real fear inside Ferrari that without immediate changes, they could lose their most valuable asset, not through contract termination, but through emotional disconnection. A driver like Hamilton thrives on belief. Right now, he doesn't seem to have much left. As strange as it sounds, some within Ferrari are already looking toward the future. 2025 was meant to be a bridge year, a stepping stone toward full competitiveness in the new era. But with results lagging, and both drivers voicing their disappointment, the team's attention is slowly shifting to 2026. Hamilton himself has hinted that the current car isn't worth salvaging, and more focus should be placed on what's to come. While that might sound like giving up, it could be a smart pivot. With sweeping regulation changes on the horizon, Ferrari may be better off investing resources now to avoid another false dawn. But that kind of long-term planning requires strong, stable leadership, and that's where the contradiction lies. How can a team build for the future if they're unsure whether the current leadership will still be around? The uncertainty surrounding Vasseur's future is now bleeding into the broader strategic vision. Ferrari isn't just racing against Red Bull and McLaren, they're racing against their own timeline, and right now they're falling behind. The big question isn't whether Vasseur is under pressure, it's whether Ferrari would really pull the trigger mid-project. Historically, Ferrari has not hesitated to make bold leadership changes when results dip. Just ask Maurizio Arrivabene or Mattia Binotto. With high-profile names floating around the paddock and Elkann reportedly weighing options, it wouldn't be unthinkable for Ferrari to make a drastic move. However, replacing a team principal mid-season brings chaos. It disrupts technical feedback loops, driver communication, and organisational momentum. If they're truly exploring replacements, it suggests desperation more than confidence. But with the current state of the SF25, internal frustration and public discontent growing, Ferrari may feel they have no choice. The only thing more damaging than making a radical change is doing nothing while everything around you falls apart. If Ferrari believes that Vasseur cannot lead them into the next chapter, then a shake-up could come sooner than expected. Ferrari's 2025 campaign has turned into a crisis management operation. What began as a season filled with hope has unravelled into internal tension, technical struggles, and mounting pressure on leadership. Frederic Vasseur, once seen as the steady hand the team needed, is now facing the reality that results matter more than reputations. Lewis Hamilton's patience is wearing thin, Charles Leclerc is left carrying podium hopes alone, and the SF25 is exposing the cracks in Ferrari's long-term plan. As whispers of a replacement grow louder, the question isn't just about whether Vasseur stays, but whether Ferrari can afford to wait any longer. The next few races could define everything. If progress stalls again, this may not just be a bad season. It could be the breaking point that forces Ferrari to rewrite its entire vision for the future. In a team where pressure is permanent and expectations never sleep, silence from the top may soon give way to something far more dramatic.